Hi guys, welcome back to Novel Nomad, and today I'll be doing the garden book tag. Now this tag was created by From the Dusty Bookshelf and I was tagged by the ever lovely Kate Howe. So I'll link both of their videos down below, go check them out. Now I've tried to be as floral today as possible like Kate Howe did in her video. She went and picked some beautiful flowers. I got these from my local market yesterday, farmer's market, and there are a few native flowers mixed in with some of the chrysanthemums in my garden. Alright, so on to the questions. Question 1 is Rambler Rose. A long read with multiple characters and plot lines. It twists, it turns, and it puts on a display of beautiful language. Now I'm slightly cheating for this one because I am picking the first two books in the Oversight trilogy. Now this is by Charlie Fletcher. It's set in a Victorian-esque London where magic is real, and there's a magic society called the Oversight that prevents very dark things from getting out into the mortal world. And it's really amazing how it manages to weave so many different storylines and so many bad characters and the minions that work for the bad characters as such, and how they have a choice in the game, and then you have the good players who are the Oversight, and then how they need more people and how these other people come in to influence them. It's just like this giant melting pot in book 1, and then they all start to slowly come together and history starts to be revealed in book 2, so I cannot wait for book 3 to see where it takes me next. Question 2, Hybrid Tea Rose. Modern and long-lasting, a collection of poetry or short stories from the 20th and 21st century that stayed with you for a long time. Now again, I couldn't decide between poetry or short stories, so I did both. First one is a short story collection by the New Zealand author Janet Frame. Now, Janet Frame suffered from schizophrenia and she was a resident at a mental hospital, and her short stories are really heartbreaking and brutally honest at times, and really exploring different connections between people. And really for Janet Frame, what she said is that her writing saved her. My selection of poetry that I absolutely adore is Pelican by Emily O'Neill. I was put onto this by the ever lovely Jen Campbell because she recommends absolutely amazing poetry collections. And in my personal opinion, the way this poetry collection manages to evoke grief and family loss is absolutely breathtaking. Question 3, Lilacs, a seasonally inspired book that you look forward to every year. And I was thinking about this, and I do reread books, but they're always random. But I suppose my most seasonally appropriate reading is that I love reading romance and comedies and rom-coms as such in summer. It just seems like such a fun time to sit down and laugh at something, because you're always busy and doing things in the sun and sunshine. So two of my favourite ones recently, and they're both by Australian authors. The first one is The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson, and I've met Graham, it's really great. This is the American cover, and it's all about Don Tillman and his wife project and how he wants to get a wife, but he's strangely drawn to this Rosie person who doesn't tick any of his boxes. And the second book is Ever Wonderful, The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is a bit of a nemesis, haters to lovers story romance set in the office, and it is exceptionally funny, mainly because the main character Lucy is exceptionally quirky. Question 4, Bleeding Heart, a beautiful dark work that broke your heart. And for me personally, I absolutely adored A Place Called Winter by Patrick Gale. It is actually Patrick Gale's great-grandfather, who they're not sure of his history because he was married, happily living in Edwardian England at the time, and then he mysteriously was sent by the family to Canada and he was never really spoken about again. So Patrick Gale really looked into this, and he created the assumption that his great-grandfather was in fact gay. Because many men at the time did that if they were considered a disgrace to their family. They were told to be removed from the situation. And so the story follows Harry Kane as he travels out into the Canadian plains and starts up a farm. And it is exceptionally bleak at times. You meet native people who have been taken away their rights, and also certain ones that have been sexually challenged by the colonials. But it's still an incredibly moving and beautiful story. So I highly recommend this to everyone and anyone. I just want to hear more love for this book. Question 5, Queen Anne's Lace, a book that is sometimes seen as a weed, but you see it for what it is. Great literature. So my choice for this one is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Now I think I'm probably the only person in my English Edwardian literature class that actually enjoyed this book, but I really liked it because it really explores human psychology, the limits of human endurance and experience, and also it does not glamorize or gloss over imperialism in the European colonies. This is set in the Congo. It follows Marlowe, who's a seaman who is basically paid to go in search of a famous ivory trader called Kurtz, and as he goes deeper into the Congo, he goes deeper into the human psyche as such, and human experience and human error in the modern age. Question 6 is Forget-Me-Nots, which is an early bloomer, and it's about a book that you read early in life and you cannot forget. Now this is going to come as absolutely no surprise, but it's Tamora Pierce. I got these ones. You can see how horrendously battered these ones are. These were probably my first Tamora Pierce books. I got them, I probably wrote in them actually. Got my name in there somewhere. Right there, tiny writing. When I was about 7, probably 7 or 8. And I have loved these. They introduced me to fantasy, to feminist ideals, to powerful female characters. I love them. I still have all the Tamora Pierce books I've ever bought, and they hold a very dear place in my heart. Question 7 is Pansies, a classic that's losing its popularity. As once upon a time everyone would have had them in their garden / library, but now they're being replaced by begonias. For me personally, that is Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. This is actually my papa's copy that he bought for my mum, and you can see her writing in there when she was little. It's absolutely gorgeous. He read this to my brother and I, and it's just such a beautiful, whimsical, happy children's story, and I don't find many people are really going back to the children's classics. They're always looking for the new, more interactive children's books, which are amazing as well, but I think we're forgetting a lot of these old children's classics which still hold a certain whimsy and beauty for children today. Question 8 is Trillium. Native to North America, and in some provinces and states it is illegal to pick them. A banned or challenged book. Alright, so I haven't read this book yet, but I have read John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, and that is none other than The Grapes of Wrath. This was banned in the US and especially in Southern California because, let me just say this, for an unflattering portrayal of the local residents. Yes, that's right. It's because people in the local area didn't like their dirty laundry in a way coming out. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Question 9 is Awkward, a work that is challenging to maintain and read. Now this one I didn't find challenging to read as such. I think it was just the time I was reading it, and it always sticks in my brain because it took me a year to read one book, which is very, very unheard of for me. And that's me constantly reading it, and that is Lord of the Rings. Now this is the copy I was reading at the time. It's all 3 books, the trilogy all in one. And I read the first book, I think, within 2 months. The second book, fairly similar. The third book, Return of the King, I read when I started year 12. That is the final year of school. I was a very, very dedicated student, so I was really focused on my studies and often had tutors and really exhausted myself with studies. So I'd go to bed and I'd probably read half a page, if that, because the writing is very small. And because of that, this book, the third book in this series, took a very, very long time to finish. But I was glad that I did because I loved it. It was absolutely amazing. And the movies are absolutely amazing. It just gave me so much more backstory to go on. So very happy I persevered with this one because it was a highlight of my final year at high school. Question 10 is Fern, a book that sparked your initial interest in a topic and then spored into a whole TBR on that topic. Now the topic at hand is magic realism, and my first real love and foray into this is The Redemption in Indigo by Karen Lord. This is an absolutely fantastic book. It follows Palmer, who is actually from a West African fairy tale, and it follows her story through the fairy tale, which is very funny at times. And then it also involves her life and the magic and the tricksters that is from the West African culture. So that was absolutely an amazing reading experience. And from that I was highly recommended The Magic Toy Shop by Angela Carter. And of course, as soon as you read an Angela Carter, you have to read another Angela Carter. And then you read her short stories because they're about fairy tales, and then you find this edition, Angela Carter's book of fairy tales, and you're done. Basically have your entire shelf as Angela Carter. So I kind of went into a whole magic realism phase. I have still loved to find a very unique magic realism and how they can blend that in with folklore and fairy tale. So I love finding those books because they're just such a gem. Now for the bonus question. It is, what is your favourite flower? Now, I love chrysanthemums, I love peonies. I basically love any flower that is big and bursting with colour and life and vivacity. They're the flowers I love. So that is the garden book tag. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And let me know down below, what is your favourite flower? Or what is a topic that has sparked your interest? Like, what is a book that sparked your interest in a certain topic? Because that is always fun. I like topic discussions. So we'll see you all next time. Bye.